Ops. Please join me in welcoming George to talk to us about benchmarking OGC services.
Thank you. It's like finally the last day you can start thinking about having some rest after all of this and all the presentations. Well, anyway, I prefer everything in black because black is the new black and also because of eyesight, so always the black screen. So I'm here talking about a bit of benchmarking OGC services. On the present was something that I did, and I have to make a disclaimer that I'm not going to show any benchmarks of services to avoid problems with people that simply get their service tested and things are not okay and they are not here to say why, or this goes online and then there's always problems. Anyway, so I started with this joke from an old series that my niece now discovered, the Golden Girls. It was like, picture this Sicily 2025 or 1926. So why this? So imagine you're in Sicily. You have to do a training for the people there, for students. And of course, training on WMS or WFS or tiles. And you simply do the WMS service because you're going to talk about how good it is to access WMS services using QGIS and how easy it is. And everything is wonderful because it's IT and you don't have to download files, blah, 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 blah. You put the service to work. It could be like a nice geo server, nice map server, QGIS server. It works in your computer. You see the maps in QGIS. And then you go to the lecture. Okay, it's not smacked. 20 students or 200 or 2,000 enter the room. You start demonstrating the OGC services. All the students on their laptops start to access the WMS, and kaput. Yeah. I don't know, anyone has experienced this? Okay. Okay. So no wonder you're here for this training. Boom. Yeah. No. So, of course, we've been there. This is very familiar. And the thing is that so far there's not exactly tools for testing, cargo testing or benchmarking OGC services. So why this doesn't happen, why you simply don't have a lot of tools specialized on this? Yes, we do have a lot of tools for benchmarking websites, access to the websites, server outputs on REST, but we don't have anything specifically for OGC. And why? Because we simply have different operations, like get feature, get maps. This is not exactly the typical REST or website that we do a benchmark testing. So yeah, and of course, we need to know, for example, when you put a service out, how many concurrent users can use it, what is the response time. For example, if a server serves one user and takes 20 seconds to render a tile, of course, I've seen something like this, completely crazy. And when does your service, okay, the service can hold like 20 students, but then after that, it goes on tilt. But you know already that if you are below 20 students, you're safe. But you have 200 students, you're going to have a problem. So all of this has to be determined. And also, another thing, this was a funny comment on FOSS4G in Portugal, is that a poorly configured system with minimal data is always outperforms a massive system that has a lot of layers but is well configured also. Because also the objective of these sort of benchmarkings is that if you have a server, you change configurations, you can go back and forth, so things would get better or worse, and you have an idea what's going on, like flipping a parameter on a GeoServer or optimizing the data in pyramids or cogs, yeah. But you need to have a way to test this. It's not like by guessing. So, like I was saying till now, basically, yeah, these benchmarks require a bit of context interpretation. That's why benchmarks, I call it, tends to be a toxic topic. For example, we had previously the maps, the OGC WMS speed competitions between GeoServer, map server, and this was an official competition inside the FOSS4G, because this was set some years ago as a sort of funny thing to do, because someone before made a presentation on WMS benchmarks, and it was a total disaster because the person made the presentation, didn't consult the people that had the servers. In that day, one server was not doing okay because they were doing an update and they started fighting in the room and, and a lot of things. I also been through that with the web processing service, that the birds of a feather to almost like chairs on each other's heads, etc. So there had to be an agreement on how to do these benchmarks, and then for a joke, it started to be a tradition in some FOSS4Gs to have these competitions. But all the participants had to agree on how the benchmark would be done and what exact context it will be done. So carry on. Where is this map? So okay, getting a bit one step back, I was telling about tools that you can use, for example, for benchmarking websites. Of course, these are very generic tools that you can see online, but they don't have like capabilities for OGC services. This was the message. Actually, this slide should have been before. So yeah, if familiar with a Siege or ApacheBench, how the hell you test a zoom or pan, or you deal with the different geographic extents. And these are the normally behavior that you have when you're using, for example, WMS service. You need to zoom, you need to switch the layers, you need to navigate, pan, and this is real life situations, and these all have to be tested. So, fortunately, we have a platform called a Locust, like sort of grasshopper. I always have a problem saying this word, I don't know why. Gafanut. And it's a framework in Python. And you can do a lot of testing with this framework. I'm going to show you the screenshot of this framework. It now also has services online that you can, let's say, have a paid account and test, for example, your REST API or your website or your systems. But in this case here, it's a Locust that got extended as normally it is for your specific case, using the OWS lib for service parsing, PyProj to do some things, some transformations, and prepared for these 3 web services. This is not so complicated. This platform, it's now very popular, and it's a platform online. It's let's say called web frame development that you can run it in your local computer. You simply run a sort of tests and gives you the times, and also gives you a nice graphic. And you can do here a lot of different testing, like users, number of requests per second, and a bit more configurations. I'll get to that a bit more. So how this sort of this framework in Python works for testing. This framework deals with like the number of requests, the code's getting back, the graphic that is doing, it measures everything, the statistics, and what you have to do is just implement what you need in classes. So if you are a Python programmer, it's not so complicated, it's extremely well documented. If you're not comfortable, you go to Copilot and say, well, I need to test this service, and Copilot or Claude immediately fill it, prepared for you with all the things that you needed. But basically, at the end of the day, it's not so complicated. And actually, I should have shown here better code. When you see the web map service, that's from the OWS lib, because it's a library specifically designed to access the OGC services. And therefore, everything you need to access a service, it's already there, and you don't have to do much programming. So Okay, here. So this is a bit of code how it works, and so there's also on this that I coded, and it's on the Git repository for you to use. For example, one thing important is the bounding boxes, because if you are familiar with the WMS service, you need to get a map, you send a bounding box. So this is programmed as a sort of input parameter. You can say how big you want your bounding box, and according to the size, all the code calculates the area of the bounding box and sends it to the server back and forward. So you can benchmark smaller boxes, bigger boxes, and what you desire. And also the code goes to check the WMS get capabilities, gets all the information, extensions, and does all the calculations. So this is really nice. Also, what it does, it simply checks for the projections, gets the projections, will try more or less a projection that you indicate, but by itself can also do a sort of decision making on projections, like for example, if you have a layer that is very on the north and you ask Web Mercator that the distortion could be a bit big or other things, it takes a bit care of this. So basically at the end of the day, with all the functionalities added, we simply have a command line, but also one extra functionality that was developed that we call a random seed. So the issue is that, okay, you're doing a test, you're generating bounding boxes on the fly, on a sort of random way, on the extension of your map, but this random way needs to be replicated. So we have a random seed that takes care of all the bounding box generations. So if you have like a random seed of 1640, and you run one test, you're going to have sort of random bounding boxes in different areas. But if you run again with the same random seed, you're going to have the same random bounding boxes again. So this is good for testing and replication of the tests. 1640, yeah. That was a historical date. Yeah, so this helps a lot for debugging and replication of results. Okay, so now I have more or less 3 supported services. Probably it's like 100 lines of code for each one. So it's not complicated, just go to GitHub, see how it's done, how the documentation on Locust is, and here you go. I plan a bit to extend this as I need it, because this project started as a need from the Portuguese government for benchmarking their web services, because it was always these surprises, and they paid a bit for this, but all the code is available. Continue a bit. This works through the command line, or if you have there a parameter, without a headless parameter, it also pops up a GUI in your browser, where these parameters also appear there in a drop-down. Basically, when you have this installed, you just need to indicate what service you're using there in the file and the URL of the host, and then this gets pop up, and you have everything in your browser and ready to go. Okay. So starting a bit sort of conclusion. This is more or less like the current functionality of this toolkit. There's unit tests, there's bounding box generators, also some mocked OGC services if you want to do development. All of this was already tested massively on the Dutch SDI infrastructure and also the Portuguese SDI. Okay, yeah, why are you raising your hand? Yeah, okay. Sorry, I'm almost finished, so no worries, finally, one on time. It's also CI/CD ready because it has a lot of tests and coverages, and yeah. So sort of reaching the end and conclusion. This tool is basically to avoid surprises when you want to know what is the cargo of your servers. It's a really realistic testing, in my opinion, MO, because it uses random seeds. You can replicate things. And finally, it could help a lot on infrastructure optimizations. Like I said in the beginning, early beginning, that you put the server to work, you change the configuration, you test it, it's better or worse, then you go back, change it, and you test it again. So also no more surprises. And okay, and also one of the final takeaways is that you don't need to develop much from scratch. Yes, you do need to know Python, how it works, because this is also a bit complex. But you have a very specific tool for OGC services, not a generic A, B, or Siege or JMeter that could do a bit of help, but not running the last mile on the topic. Okay. And yeah, and here it is on Git. I just accidentally realized that it was not public, so, but now it is. The code is there, fork it, trash it, test it. I did a push commit 2 days ago, so I think everything is fixed. Comment, yeah. Thank you. Last one.
Thank you, Josh. I'm looking forward to trying this myself. Do we have any...
Wait, one small thing. Locust can also be run on your local computer or in a cluster with multiple computers, where the computers communicate between them, and they could start all the process in parallel at the same time. So this means you can also use this as a denial of service attack system for the fun. I'm not saying that you have to do it, but
yeah, the name Locust makes it sound like it's for that sort of testing.
It's nice, isn't it? Works as a cluster.
Yeah. Questions? I'll start here.
This is really good. This is exactly what I was looking for about a week ago, so thank you. Do you have any plans for any other OGC services or other geographic services that you're hoping to use?
Whatever is necessary. It's not complicated. It's like 2 hours, 1 hour, just in the computer, and it's done.
And are you actively taking contributions? Contributions if I find one that needs it?
Yes.
Okay.
Just open a ticket and say it. What service do you need?
Nothing off the top of my head, but I know there's something that's there that I use. So
maybe OGC API now or something, or WFS is there.
WPS, maybe?
WPS. Ooh. Okay. But probably for WPS, you can immediately do it with a normal benchmarking, because it can have bounding box, depends on the inputs, but sorry.
Yeah, excellent, thanks for that. How did you go with the error output? So when you test with Locust, like you essentially have a name and an error output for every test. What did you use for that for each of the services? Do you output the bounding box separately, or?
The error in case, for example, there's HTTP 400.
Failure or something, 400 or 404?
No, Locust takes care of all of that.
Okay, excellent.
So it just generates the WMS, for example, with the bounding box, sends it. Actually, it sends it using the OWS lib, gets back the HTTP codes and the errors, and then logs everything, and you see on the graphics and on the benchmarking. Because the strategy is Locust, OWS lib, your server. Then gets back, OWS lib parses the answer, then the answer is given to Locust. Locust decides if it did good, bad, work, didn't work, should I send more requests, and log everything. So I don't have to worry, that's why you use it.
Yeah, so it's sort of basically if the service starts to fail, it kind of intelligently backs off, or?
Yes, yes. And for example, you start like with 100 users, and you see going up, 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 and then normally it reaches 60, and log to see, okay, I'm backing off because the server is taking a bit more time to reply, or the thread that I'm running, it's on the limit. So it's really smart, the structure, and you don't have to worry with a lot of things.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
Thanks, really cool. I'm interested because, okay, this is a benchmark, you get some report. But if you want to have a little more help from this report, how to interpret these things? How can you get hints? What did you do wrong? Or are you like just pushing your server beyond, or you should change COG or extend, tiling, stuff like that?
No, it's just to push the server to the limit. Then it's up to you to decide.
So yeah. It would be cool to.
For example,
it would be cool to have one pass more, which maybe gives you some hint.
Yeah, I understand, because, for example, like,
I know this is your job then to do that, and it's good.
No, one of the hints immediately is that, for example, on the PDOK, the Dutch infrastructure, you always have WMS and WMTS. And you test the WMS, it goes like 1 second or 500 milliseconds for reply. But then if you have a hint to go to the tile service, you see the velocity going way up and better. Yeah, the tiles don't use big WMS requests, use tile requests or different bounding boxes.
Yeah, great talk. I really loved it. Do you find that you have to restart your service or servers in between test runs to ensure consistency, or does
the server on the other side?
Yes, yeah.
It's not my problem.
Yeah.
No. No, you don't. Yeah. I'm thinking about what happens sometimes, especially with arc something or hexagon, is that you start making requests and then the server, and then there you have to contact the person in charge and say, do you mind rebooting the server, because it died on the process. But from the side of the client, you can stop the test and restart again with the same commands, everything on the same GUI, and it carries over, doesn't care.
Does Locust support the browser caching?
Browse.
The ability to turn browser caching on and off?
Because we don't load websites, so we don't normally have a cache.
Okay.
And also, but it's a very, very good question, because that was the initial intention of the bounding boxes, to prevent caching. Because if you would make always the same generic request for all the map and all the extension, you would start to get cache. Use the bounding boxes, you have random places, so it doesn't cache so much. And also you change the random C, another way to prevent caching. But it was taken very much in consideration. Next. Yeah.
How did you do this before Locust?
How?
How would you benchmark an OGC service before?
I think for the WMS benchmarks on the competitions, it was AB or JMeter. But they used to have only, they used to craft all the URLs by themselves. There was not an automatic system. They would generate like a list of URLs on a file, and then ask the system to go one URL by one URL. If I remember correctly, it was like this. Yes?
Yes, it was JMeter, or we use JMeter. There's a few people in the company who knows how to use it or wants to use it, so this is technology great for those of you in the company.
I haven't shown it. It also has a nice GUI where you put there the parameters. Yes, on your browser, so you can flip-flop things as you want. Okay, prima. Thank you. Next. Yeah. But then I just ask some feedback, because this is really, really recent. So if you find bugs, anything, just send me information. Okay. Klopp.